Hello there, welcome back to my world of stuff. It's been a while since I've done a Doctor Who related video. It's probably because there's no Doctor Who around at the moment. Doctor Who news is a little bit thin on the ground. We're still waiting the beginning of season 2, and it's a bit of a post-Christmas lull. You may recall I reviewed the Christmas special, Joy to the World, which I didn't rate very much. I think I've done a retro Doctor Who Revisited of the Ice Warriors a couple of weeks ago, and there'll be another retro Doctor Who coming up in the next couple of weeks. But I thought, in the light of some things which are happening at the moment and some things which are rumoured, I would just do a little Doctor Who update. So here we go! Yes, Doctor Who time. Right, this is not a difficult video, but a cautionary video in a way, because, as I've mentioned before, I don't really deal in rumours. I don't like to encourage rumours amongst the world of Doctor Who, because there's enough of that going on as it is. You just go onto YouTube and you'll find all sorts of ludicrous rumours and lies about Doctor Who, because Doctor Who is a very polarising programme, particularly in the 21st century. Now, a lot of people don't like the way Doctor Who's going. A lot of people don't like Doctor Who's politics, its gender politics, it's what it's putting onto the screen is annoying a lot of old school fans who can't get over the fact that it's not 1976 anymore, and Doctor Who is a different show, but is the same show at its heart. It's still about a traveller in time and space who has extraordinary adventures, but some people have difficulty with its 21st century trappings, if I can use that word. So there's a lot of scuttlebutt online. There's a lot of people posting rumours that they may have heard, lies that they've made up just to discredit the series. And a couple of those have come to my attention over the last day or so, and I want to talk about them because I don't know if they're rumour or have some basis in truth, but I think they may not be far from the truth, or they may have bits of truth in amongst the fantasy and the wish fulfillment of people who don't like the show. So I'm going to be talking about that towards the end of this video. First of all, though, I'll just do a quick update about some bits of news that have been announced in the past few weeks. And it is difficult because Doctor Who doesn't really make big announcements about what's happening. It's all kept very close to the chests of Russell T Davies, the people who are working on the show. They don't give the secrets away willingly. They just let out little bits at a time, casting news and the writers, which I'm going to talk about now. So we've got 8 new Doctor Who episodes in the can. They were finished last summer. I imagine most of the special effects are done. In fact, having said they're in the can, I'll come back to that in a moment as well. So those 8 episodes are pretty much ready to go. Russell T Davies has said they're ready to go. He appeared on the One show before Christmas to promote Joyless to the World, and he did say that the series will be back sooner than you think. I'll come back to that in a moment. However, we have had an official announcement about the writers of the next series, and I think it makes for interesting reading. But again, reading that's going to rile up a lot of fans who can't accept that it's 2025 now and not 1965. We know that Russell T Davies wrote the bulk of last season's episodes, for better or for worse. This year we've got a bit more breathing space because we've got Russell obviously writing some scripts. But we have had the announcement of 4 non-Russell T Davies writers, 4 other writers who are working on the show. One who has contributed to the series before, and one who has history in the Doctor Who universe, and 2 new writers. 2 I've never heard of, I have to admit. So let's just get to that. We'll talk about that. You'll know about this, you'll have heard about this, but I'll just talk about it briefly. The show has announced 4 writers who will be penning episodes for the upcoming season, with the lineup including both new and returning talent. Russell, I think, is doing 4 episodes by the look of it. We know he's doing the first episode. There have been some titles rumoured but not announced, and I'll possibly mention them a bit later on. Returning to the show, however, is Pete McTeague. He wrote the episodes Kerblam and Praxius for Jodie Whittaker during Chris Chibnall's era. Kerblam I liked. Praxius had an interesting idea at the core, but didn't quite pull it off. And he's also, incidentally, the co-writer and producer for the upcoming unit-based Sea Devil spin-off, The War Between the Land and the Sea, which incidentally finished filming just before Christmas and is now entering a fairly lengthy period of post-production and is not expected to be aired until either late this year or the beginning of next year. And he also writes and directs the little mini features that we have had for the Doctor Who Blu-ray box sets. At the moment, they're just doing fairly bog standard trailers. They're not doing these little vignettes that they've done in the past, which is a shame because they're quite enjoyable. But I think I can understand the reason why they're not doing them for certainly season 7, which is out next month, because hardly anybody from the cast is left alive. So it'd be very difficult to construct a narrative around John Levine, Sergeant Benton, who's really the only regular cast member still with us, unfortunately. So at the moment, they're just putting together these very nice trailers with a narration by, I think Katie Manning has done the one for season 7, just sort of bigging up the box sets and saying that they're on the way and giving us an idea what the special features are. But Pete McTeague has done these nice little features we've had in the past. I'm thinking off the top of my head, that one with Leela and Gallifrey and the Daleks, the one with Bonnie Langford as Mel, which the series itself has sort of decanonised, as it were. And we have had the one with Tegan reunited with Nyssa. So we've had all these little character vignettes, which have been good fun. But he's not doing those now. I think budgetary reasons, they pull back on those. So he has a bit of history with Doctor Who, and he's a huge fan of Doctor Who. As he says, he describes the TARDIS as a home away from home. It's been a joy to step back inside with Russell at the console and the incredible team at Bad Wolf hanging on for dear life. I love the show with all my heart, and I'm really proud of what we've been able to achieve with my next episode. Pete McTeague is one of those people who I think has been named as a potential successor to Russell T Davies. Russell's not going to be around forever, even if we don't even know if the show's going to be around that much longer. But Russell is going to have to sort of pass on the reins at some point. Pete McTeague has a fairly distinguished history with the show, and as a fan, he could be poised to step in a couple of years' time. Russell is in his 60s now. Yeah, I know that feeling. And he's not going to be around doing Doctor Who forever because there's other things he wants to do. To be honest, much as I have liked his writing for Doctor Who, I sort of would like him to do other things because I think his other things are probably better suited to him now than Doctor Who. I'm not entirely sure that his second era in Doctor Who has hit the target as the first one did back in the early 2000s. But that's a whole other point. Pete McTeague then is a possible successor as a new showrunner. Meanwhile, Juno Dawson, who created the first official Doctor Who scripted podcast, Doctor Who Redacted, will make a debut writing for the show, which she described as a dream come true. She said, I started watching Doctor Who with my grandma when I was 10 years old in the 1990s. From writing fan fiction for an audience of one to scripting the best TV show of all time. It's truly a dream come true. I can't wait for fans and newcomers to see the new season. That is something which TV people always say. I can't wait. Can't wait to get started. Can't wait for people to see this. Juno Dawson is a name I know. She was one of the crew of the official Doctor Who podcast, which I think launched with the last series. I think it only ran for the length of that series. It's one of those irritating, authorised, not scripted exactly, but, doesn't frighten the horses type of things, which I didn't really watch very much of. And I know she's written a couple of Doctor Who books in the past. She is a very modern writer. She's a very switched on writer, and I suspect her script will deal with lots of issues that have affected her and are current in the world, shall we say. So people who don't like woke Doctor Who might be a bit up in arms about what she did. And I don't know what the episode is, I don't know what it's called, I don't know what it's about, but she is one of that sort of group of focused writers who are very concerned about certain issues regarding gender and sexuality and so on, and I can't see that not filtering into her work on Doctor Who. Also making his Doctor Who script writing debut is poet and playwright Inua Elams, who said he'd been a fan of the series for as long as I can remember television. He continued, I started watching when I was 10 in Nigeria. The show invited me to dream, to live beyond my reality. You've got to get this one. Getting to write for the show felt like touching God. Yeah, it was blasphemously humbling and exciting, and I can't wait to share my story with the world. I'm sure it's very exciting writing for your favourite TV show in the world, but touching God is, we are talking about a family-friendly TV show about a man who travels in a police box. It's exaggeration, it's hype, but, bless him, he's getting to work on his favourite TV show. I'd never heard of this guy. I don't know who he is. I don't know what's in store. Finally, we have Sharma Angel Walfal, who's been involved in writers' rooms for several major shows, including, interestingly, Supercell, which, if you remember my top 10 TV shows of the year, was one of my top 10 TV shows of the year. Renegade Now, which I quite enjoyed, and Noughts and Crosses will also be writing an episode and said she was buzzing to be involved in such an iconic show. I'm a massive Russell T Davies fan, so it's a dream come true to be able to work alongside him, especially on a show that I love. blah, blah, blah. It's a real privilege. I love it. I can't wait. Speaking about all the newly announced writers, Davis himself said Doctor Who takes his talent from a glittering galaxy of names, and these extraordinary writers span the skies. We've got old hands, new stars, voices from theatre, radio and literature, the whole works. It's the most wild and exciting season of Doctor Who yet. I can't wait to unleash their brilliant work. Just the usual hype that we get from TV and Russell T Davies. Can't wait for this, can't wait for that. It's wonderful. The proof of the pudding is in the eating, of course. As I said, these writers are all very modern. They will have their themes, shall we say, that they may well thread through their story. I don't care about their gender, their sexuality, the colour of their skin. All I care about is that they can write a good Doctor Who story, whether it's a Doctor Who science fiction story or whether it's in the current mode for sort of something a bit more supernatural and otherworldly and multidimensional. Make it a good story. You can put in what you like, but I want a good story with a good beginning and middle and end, preferably some good monsters, some thrills, some excitement, not so much crying. Just write a good story. I don't care about your sexual politics and your gender and all that stuff, but tell me a good story. That's important to me. So that's where we are in terms of Doctor Who writers. In terms of the series coming back to the screen, as I said, Russell T Davies mentioned on the One Show that it will be back sooner than you might think. Turns out that looks as if it's going to be April. Now, last season, you will recall, aired in May, and then it sort of travelled on then into the end of June, beginning of July, with the result that its ratings were a bit disappointing. Now, I'm not going to get to the whole ratings thing because ultimately the ratings landscape is shifting almost daily in terms of what's a good rating, what's a bad rating. And Doctor Who's ratings were okay for the last season. They weren't stellar, but then very few things are stellar. We have sort of outliers like Gavin and Stacey at Christmas and the Wallace and Gromit, which had like 20 million plus viewers at a specific time of year, very specifically event television. But Doctor Who, in its 14th season, mustered about 5 to 6 million viewers. That's okay by modern standards, and it got the show safely in the top 10. Even Joyless to the World, which I detested, its 28-day viewing figures put it at about 6.4 million viewers. So it's okay, it's doing all right. The BBC will want to do everything they can to sort of lift the figures even higher if they can, which is why it looks as if the show's going to be starting in April. The evidence for this came from the writer himself, Inua Ellams. Posted a picture of himself on the TARDIS control room, saying, finally, news dropped last Monday, and this is the news about all the new writers. I've been watching this show since I was 10 years old. Getting it right, it was a dream. It was several of my wildest fantasies come true. There is so much more I wish I could tell you right now, but I've signed NDAs so vast they blanket the universe and exist in the past, present and future. The new series drops in April and May. Until then, you'll just have to enjoy this picture of your boy in the TARDIS, and there is a picture of your boy in the TARDIS. So yeah, April and May. So obviously it's starting in April, moving on into May, where his episode fits in might not be decided yet. So looking at the dates we have in April, and it's an interesting thought because we have 8 episodes for the season again. If it starts at the beginning of April, first Saturday in April is April the 5th, which is just after Easter, so I think that's broadly in line with where it used to start back in the first Russell T Davies era. We'd have an episode, or if they do a double debut as they did last year, I hope they don't, because I didn't think that was a good idea. When we've only got 8 episodes, throwing 2 away one night seems a bit silly. So we could have an episode on the 5th, the 12th, the 19th, the 26th of April, and then the 3rd of May, the 10th of May, and if they do have a double debut, on the 17th of May could be the finale, and the 17th of May would coincide with the Eurovision Song Contest, which is always a fair bet for a good 8-9 million viewers, and they may consider that having a Doctor Who finale on the night of the Eurovision Song Contest could be an interesting ratings booster, particularly if the finale is a blockbuster finale, and if it does anything like the rumours I have heard, which I'm not going to talk about because they are extreme rumours, but again, that's rumours for you. So if they have a double debut on the 5th of April, the series could conclude on the 17th of May. I think that's what might happen. It looks as if Doctor Who's back, as Russell said, sooner than we expect, and within the next couple of months. What happens after that, though? Well, that's something that we don't know. We know that the show was initially commissioned and funded by Disney, who have the rights to stream it across the world, and I can't make that point strongly enough. They pay to stream it. They have very little say apart from a few grace notes, which most shows have, because a lot of British TV shows have some sort of American funding interest or some co-production funding, and the co-producers will have a creative interest, but Disney does not have a major creative interest in the content of Doctor Who. Disney's contract was for 26 episodes. That is the 2 seasons that we've had, 16 episodes, Christmas special, another Christmas special, the 3 David Tennant specials, and the 5-part spin-off. That's where the Disney deal ends. As yet, we don't know what's happening after that. Russell T Davies has said that Disney will decide what they want to do once season 2 has aired. This could be another reason why it's airing a bit earlier, because if Disney decide at any point during the run that they do want to carry on, they can get the wheels in motion to get the next season up and going fairly quickly, because I know scripts will be written, some pre-production is done. I think Bad Wolf are ready to start filming. They just need that okay. If Disney don't decide to carry on, it doesn't mean it's the end of Doctor Who, because Bad Wolf and the BBC will find a way to make it work. On a reduced budget, much as it was before, I don't think we'll notice that much different. I've said it before, say it again, I don't see much of that Disney money on screen. If you look back at some of those Jodie Whittaker episodes, whether you like them or not, they were beautifully made, beautifully filmed, and Flux in particular, a series made in COVID conditions, looks absolutely astonishing with some real spectacle in several episodes, and I have not seen anything to match any of that in this Disney era of Doctor Who. So I think if Disney leave the show or step aside, I don't think we're going to see a massive on-screen difference, because there will be other funding models that will come into play and the show will still look good. Will Disney step away? I don't know. It depends on how well it's done, what the metric is at Disney. Apparently Joyless to the World did quite well for them. I think that seems to have been an episode which hung around a bit longer than some of the others in the last season. And bearing in mind that Disney spend millions and millions and millions of pounds on their Star Wars and Marvel series. Things like The Acolyte, which cost gazillion dollars and was cancelled after 1 season because it didn't do well enough. Doctor Who costs a drop in the ocean compared to shows like that. It may well do enough and be enough of a draw to Disney Plus to make it worth them sticking with it. I understand that Disney Plus has lost something like 700,000 subscribers in the last quarter, which is a lot, but apparently less than I expected. And if Doctor Who is doing anything to help audience retention and is bringing up audience, however small, to Disney Plus, they may well think, yeah, we'll throw some more money at this. It's not costing us a lot. I don't know. That's all up in the air. We won't know what's happening for a few months yet. I personally think they will stick with it. I think they will recommission, but it's just a gut feeling rather than any particular major instinct. In terms of the next season, as I mentioned, it's in the can. It isn't completely in the can because apparently this last week, or this week now, there are 5 days of filming in Penarth, which is a little town near Cardiff that you might know, a little seaside resort where Sarah Jane Adventures was filmed. The Doctor was filmed there in the past. Apparently there is a 5-day filming unit in a domestic house somewhere in Penarth. Fans staking out this place, and they've seen that there's filming going on. They know it's Doctor Who because certain signage which represents Doctor Who, and cast are being smuggled in and out, so nobody's able to say who's there exactly. It is said that it is pick-up shots for the finale. Now that's a bit interesting in itself because the finale was filmed last year, it's done, the effects are presumably done. Whether there have been notes from Disney that they'd like a couple of extra scenes to clarify plot points, or whether there's been a change in terms of the end of the episode or something that happens in the episode. As I said, I've heard rumours, which I'm not going to talk about here because I don't like rumours, about this happens, that happens, and because of this, that happens, and I'm not going to talk about that. You may well, if you're a Doctor Who fan, you may have heard this stuff. So there's filming still going on for Doctor Who for the next season. Having said that I don't talk about rumours, I'm not going to talk about a rumour because this is something which was brought to my attention again yesterday. And again, I've looked online to sort of follow it up, and it all does seem to stem from knowledgeable Doctor Who fans in their bedrooms who have heard this and have heard that leak, and they've got a friend close to the production, this, that and the other. The rumour is, and this is, I must point out, this is a rumour, and it sticks in my throat a bit to talk about it, but it is a rumour and it has potential impact on the future of the show. The rumour is that Ncuti Gatwa has bought himself out of his 3-year contract for Doctor Who and has gone over to America, or is looking for work, or he's been offered work in America, work he hasn't been able to take because of the uncertainty about Doctor Who's future. Now, you may remember that to publicise Joyless to the World, he appeared on the Graham Norton show and said, it was reported that he said, yeah, we're back filming the 3rd series next year. That was cut out of the transmitted version of that show for various reasons. So I don't know why that was cut out, whether it was Bad Wolf saying, you can't say that because we don't know for certain, or whether the BBC felt, well, it's not formally commissioned, so we can't say that. We can't promise something that might not happen. But he was at that point expecting to come back for another year. Now, as I've said, Russell T Davies has said that they're waiting to see how, or Disney waited to see how the 2nd season is received before they recommission. This leaves Juti Gatwa, who's been doing stage stuff. He's been appearing in The Importance of Being Earnest in London. I'm sure he's got other things lined up. I'm sure I heard last year that he was signed up to do a new version of Strangers on a Train. I haven't heard any more about that. But whether he's now tired of dragging his heels and not knowing if he's going back to Doctor Who, not knowing if Doctor Who's coming back in the near future or not, it is said that he has bought himself out of his contract and he's away. And again, this sounds a bit like an extreme addition to that particular rumour, but it has been said that he was offered a very lucrative perfume commercial in America, which would have earned him more than an entire season of Doctor Who. And on the basis of that, he has walked away. That may be the case, that might not. As I say, it's all rumour. I don't know, and I'm mentioning that here because it is a significant rumour about the star of the show, who's only been with the show for a year and a half. And I don't know how I feel about that. If it is true that he's walked, I won't be devastated. I mean, I was gutted when David Tennant announced he was leaving because I felt within my bones instinctively the show would not be the same going forward. David Tennant was such a huge success, and he connected with the public who weren't necessarily classic Doctor Who fans, but he and his portrayal and his personality and the fact that he's bloody David Tennant, who everybody loves, it drew in this huge audience who stuck with the show. And when he left, Matt Smith took over, and he was fine, but the show wasn't the same, and the show, his popularity has sort of slipped and slipped ever since. Although the ratings, I will say again, the ratings are still quite buoyant for the era that we're in terms of terrestrial TV. I certainly don't feel that Juti Gatwa is connected to anything like that same way. And that's nothing to do with him. It's nothing to do with his race or his sexuality or anything like that. I think it's a lot to do with his portrayal, the way the character's been written, humanised, and without a definitive, defining look. I've mentioned this. I think I mentioned this in my Joyless to the World review. The fact that he doesn't have a costume. The fact that he often knocks about in T-shirts and jeans and these tight-fitting tops and things. He just looks like a bloke walking down the street. And I think the Doctor needs a silhouette, a look, whether it's a coat. We've seen him in that sort of leather mustardy coat, which I think is a nice look for him. And he can wear what else he likes underneath all that, T-shirts. But you need a look so you can say, that's the Doctor. But when you see this bloke, faffing about, wearing a T-shirt or a cardigan, it doesn't speak Doctor to me. And I think that's one of the reasons he hasn't connected, because the character hasn't made that mark. He hasn't made that imprint in, this is the Doctor. Plus, the whole issue of humanising him, so he's crying every week, or seems to be crying every week. It just takes something otherworldly away from the Doctor. It makes him another human being involved in something extraordinary, and the Doctor should always be the person who's a bit more than that. I don't think the Doctor needs to display that much human emotion, because it's been an issue, and it's been a part of Doctor Who since he came back. Doctor's been in touch with his emotions. He's been upset about things. He had this relationship with Rose that was always sort of underplayed slightly, but now his emotions are there. He is all emotion, and it just makes him too human, frankly. So I think that's the reason why perhaps he hasn't connected with the wider audience, because he doesn't feel like a different hero anymore. He just feels like a hero. So that's the position with Doctor Who at the moment. New writers coming back to the screen in April. Juti Gatwa, yay or nay? Who knows, if you pardon the pun. We'll find out in a few months what's happening with Doctor Who. It is one of those things that Doctor Who is kept very secret, because it's a big show. People who appear on it, as the writer Inua Ellams said, he's had to sign umpteen NDAs not to talk about the episode, which just seems a bit extreme for a 50-minute episode of TV, but there we are. It's all secret. We will know when we know. I don't think it's the end for Doctor Who. It's been a bumpy ride. This Russell T Davies era 2 has been bumpy. I'm not saying it hasn't been. I'm not saying it's been an unmitigated success creatively or in terms of the audience, because it hasn't. It's lost part of its mass appeal, and that's perhaps inevitable nearly 20 years after it came back, that it's no longer the zeitgeist. It's no longer the big talking point as it was. But on the flip side, its ratings are decent enough. It's a top 10 show. It's outrating lots of shows that once towered above it, and I'm talking about the soap operas and Casualty and all those shows that are now struggling to get 3-4 million viewers. Doctor Who is still knocking around the 5 to 6 million, and in the modern television terrestrial age, that's okay. You always want Doctor Who to do a bit better than that. So anyway, that's where we are at the moment. It looks like Doctor Who's back in April. Why not let me know what you think about the new writers, the potential for Doctor Who coming back soon, and the future for Juti Gatwa. He signed a 3-year contract, which it said he's bought himself out of. I think 3 years is the most we can expect from any actor playing the Doctor now, even with this reduced episode count. We're never going to get another 5-year John Pertwee or 7-year Tom Baker. Actors don't work like that anymore. I think that for a show like Doctor Who, it's something that people will do for 3 years and then step away from. So we're going to rattle through the Doctors, assuming the show continues. So let me know what you think about all this. Do you think Juti Gatwa was a yay or nay, a stay or not? Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about all this Doctor Who stuff. A lot of which is gossip, some of which is hard news, but that's the way it is with Doctor Who. If you've enjoyed this video, I hope you have, please like and subscribe to the channel. That would be fantastic. Subscriber numbers have ground to a halt. The brakes are on at the moment. So let's get some more people on board. If you're watching this on your TV, you won't be able to subscribe, but what you can do as soon as you start watching is go onto your laptop or your iPad or your phone, and you can call up the channel and press that subscribe button. Go on, you might as well. Make an old man very happy. Right, thank you for watching. I will see you soon until I do. Yeah, keep taking their stuff.